The Bengals are seeing a run game renaissance over the past few weeks. How is this happening? Who deserves the credit? And will it continue? Let's look at the tape for the answers on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Welcome to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm Andrew Fox Miller for a special video, a sit-down, a breakdown of this Bengals run game. I'm joined by Mike Santagata of BengalsTalk.com. Mike and I, by the way, did one of these videos in September after the Bengals faced the Vikings in week 3. That was a members-only video. However, James Rapine deemed our pilot episode as essential viewing, let's say, and blessed us with his approval. A series order is the industry term, I believe, Mike. By the way, you can read Mike's latest article covering the Bengals' new and improved run game, and that's what we're here to do today, Mike, to discuss this run game, discuss your observations. Maybe we'll find someone to heap praise upon. Maybe we'll just give credit to Joe Flacco and end this video now. That's the narrative we default to these days, right? Just tell us, Mike, is that your determination? Is it Joe Flacco?
Yeah, they were so scared of Flacco keeping that read option. I don't know how they end up giving it up. that's everything that the run game worked. Now, what's going to be frustrating is just like everybody was to blame last time, I think everybody deserves a little credit this time.
I think I'm okay with that. We'll see. We'll let this percolate. I think I'm okay with what you're saying here. And I did mention that Vikings game, Mike, in that video that we did back in September. Back then, you had highlighted the fact that the Bengals would have sort of like a tight end motioning prior to the snap. And when they did that, they would almost always run towards whoever the tight end was motioning.
This is a schematic concern that they have nothing else when they motion this tight end over. They don't have anything else they do besides this play.
Beginning to end, it is the same that they've done, you said, since last season.
I think it's insane.
So 2 things. One, what's a simple explanation for mixing it up in the way they have, as you mentioned in your article, because it seemed way too overdue, I should say. And I'm surprised it happened at all. And 2, is it safe to assume that Zac Taylor and the Bengals coaching staff watched our video from September? Your thoughts?
Yes, I think, yeah, they're definitely watching. That's the only reason. After 2 years, they finally run a play away from that tight end motion. Let's take a look at it. So you see a tight end motion. He comes to around a stop right there, and I believe that's Cam Grandy, which is who they were motioning in the Vikings game as well. And they're running wide zone to the opposite side, the complete opposite direction.
Look at that.
Lo and behold, it's an explosive run. This was the first 20-plus yard run that the Bengals have had all season. And also just going to point out Dalton Reisner at left guard here. Take a look at that. Just widen that hole out. Wow. 94 is out of the picture. A good effort from Tinsley just to occupy the safety, and then it's Chase Brown off to the races. And it's not just that run that I think Zac Taylor deserves some credit for. Now, blame a little bit too. Like, why didn't we do this earlier? I don't know the answer to that. Like, I've been pulling my hair out. I just think they just kind of overlooked it. Like, oh, this is a good concept. It's a solid concept to get the tight end motion here. We get the kick out from him. And they just never really thought about it.
To the untrained eye being me in this scenario, of course, while you were busy watching tape, I was like watching the new episode of Slow Horses. You know what I mean? Like, so this is my chance to get caught up. The Steelers defense on that initial clip, it didn't seem to me like they were anticipating the run with the motion, or am I missing something there?
No, I think that's the one thing that would make this look better is if they did actually slant like some of those other teams did and slant everybody towards that motion side. But could it be why 94 is a little bit slow off the ball moving that way? I don't know. It could also just be they don't have a tell on it too. So I think when you watch those first steps from the defensive line, they're moving after the offensive line moves in that direction to try to keep up, but they're not cheating that way. Whereas when you watch those clips against the Vikings, and there was one against the Eagles when they do that motion, they cheat that way. Their first step is that direction before the offensive line takes a step in that direction. So this time, they at least get to play it honest. And when they do, they're able to get an explosive play out of it.
Love it. Look what we've done for this team.
And more credit goes to Zac Taylor for this concept as well, where they hit that wide zone concept to the left off that tight end motion twice. This one doesn't come with the tight end motion, but they're going to run play action off of wide zone to the left. And I think the key here is that they want to get Noah Fant open in space, who is the inside tight end, 86, right inside of 89, who's off the ball and outside of him. Nobody keys tight ends really on these plays. So they just switch them. They just switch them right there, and that gets Noah Fant on Jack Sawyer in coverage. So I think that's like a really smart wrinkle, whereas you might be thinking, well, isn't it obvious? But the linebackers, they don't look at the tight ends for this. Watch the linebacker eyes, all pointed in the triangle, as you would call it, guard, center, guard, running back, quarterback, ball. They're all right there. So they don't really care what the tight ends are doing back here. And it was, I think, a good way to get their better receiving tight end, probably their best active receiving tight end, definitely the best active receiving tight end. I forgot who the competition was, in space against the defensive lineman. And it worked because they were able to sell the run. They got the Steelers to get into a base personnel with 7 big guys in there, 2 off-ball linebackers, 5 defensive line types. And they did that by being able to run the ball effectively. And they got in that same 12 personnel, switch that release, and get Noah Fant in space for another explosive play. So I think those 2 plays just show they're putting a lot more thought and care into this run game and how play action can work off of it.
Now, when you say thought and care, but a play just like that with Fant running out, have they done things like that where it's just been a catastrophe and it's like, know your opponent, or is it execute the play properly and it should work?
They've run some of those keepers before. I can't remember them switching the tight ends at the line of scrimmage like that before. I think the big difference is that they were able to actually hit that wide zone to the left, because a lot of times with Joe Burrow, when they've tried this type of play, the defensive end, he sees that, he goes, I don't care about that run play. I'm going to go hit Joe Burrow or Jake Browning. Or in this case, it could have been Joe Flacco. But because they ran the ball well leading up to that play, they were able to run a good play action off of it. I mean, it sounds simple, but that's really what it was to me.
I like when we say it sounds simple, but it's actually working and they're doing simple things and executing properly. American Home Tech has you covered, Cincinnati. From roofing, siding, gutters, windows, doors, decks, and full interior remodeling. They do it all. I've got to deal with leaves right now. Fall is upon us. Winter is happening. There's going to be the weight of snow. Depending on the age of your roof, you may want to get it looked at. Midwest. Ugh. Here's the thing, as your local experts, they offer free inspections to help you get started. Join the thousands of Cincinnati homeowners who trust American Home Tech and schedule your free inspection today. I'm going there right now, AmericanHomeTech.com, because I'm not even kidding. I need to get my stuff looked at, man. AmericanHomeTech.com. What else we got here?
So obviously the offensive line is going to deserve some credit for this run game as well. And I'm going to point out another Dalton Reisner, but this time with Orlando Brown as the driving force at left tackle on this double team. And I just think, man, that is a hole. If Tinsley could have got to the safety here, and it's a difficult block for a wide receiver because he's so far outside and they didn't want to give a tell on this play. I mean, that could have been huge. But when you look at the power that Orlando Brown brings on this specific block right there, gallops into it, and I mean, that initial hole outside of the safety is like driving a Mack truck through there. And some of that credit can go to Drew Sample as well at tight end for holding up against a defensive end one-on-one and not blowing up the play. But I just thought this particular play, you watch it play out and just impressive strength to be able to move that defender all the way from the hash mark to the others to maybe the middle, maybe a little bit further to the right than that, and just developing like a 4-yard, 5-yard wide hole.
And not to pick on Mitch Tinsley or get in the weeds here, but you did mention it. Can't help but notice that it's right there.
Yeah.
Chase Brown's down. 1, could Mitchell Tinsley have done anything differently? And 2, would it have made sense from a personnel standpoint to have someone other than Mitchell Tinsley to actually execute the block on that play or something of that nature?
So I actually think Tinsley's been their best blocking wide receiver. So I think it's okay that he's the one in the game. I think the struggle that they went with in this play, because this is a duo concept, and one of the most common tells that you're going to face duo is when the tight end kind of motions over to around where that tight end, or when the wide receiver motions to maybe just inside of that tight end. You see him stop there, and then he's got a great angle to go dig out that safety. So you kind of run into the issue, though, of we don't want to give away a tell. But it's a really difficult block, and part of me thinks, well, if they motioned him down, would the Steelers have known they're about to face duo in this situation? So is it just they're outthinking themselves and they should have just motioned him down? Because I don't really blame him a ton in this scenario. It's a really difficult block to make for a wide receiver.
It's his position in the way that play is set up, and not setting him up for failure per se, but maybe if you're hoping that's one crack and let's hope it doesn't leak. And in this case, it kind of did.
Yeah. And hey, not to be a duo clinic over here, but
Oh boy.
we got another one and another unblocked, another unblocked safety. 21
Let's
here.
see that. Yeah. Let me see that again.
21 here. This one, if you want to ask about that, I think it's the inside man here right outside of the tight end. You can see how he kind of just gets caught. I can't tell who that is. Is that Fant?
Yeah. Name him. We must blame him.
He ends up getting like doubling 97. He's supposed to get to 21. But what I want to point out with this rep of duo, this ends up being the longest play of the Bengals season as a run play, is just how awesome Chase Brown was. Where all of these missed tackles, and then also Jamar Chase, the effort and the blocking from a skill position there springs this an extra couple of yards. But when you watch it, you see this could have been dead on arrival. And maybe this was against the Vikings, where Chase Brown just gets hit right there by the safety. But the safety's a little slow getting there, misses at the feet. And then here is the big one to me. When you get into the open field against a safety he's the last line of defense, can you make him miss and keep going? And he does. Stays on his feet. Actually stays on his feet through Porter as well, and that's who ends up getting blocked over there. But that gets you, what, an extra 20, 25 yards on the play? It's huge. It wasn't even blocked up that well. You see an unblocked safety coming through there. But it doesn't matter when the back is able to make those guys miss.
Yeah, I mean, for Chase Brown, you would hope that it doesn't have to be perfectly blocked. It just seemed to me as though in the 6 weeks up until the Green Bay Packers game, there was really nowhere to go. There weren't many holes. You kind of went over them again in the week 3 review of the problems in the run game. O-line, let's start there for a moment. Is it assignment? Is it mentally they're in a better spot? Where are you seeing the improvement, and where do you suspect the differences from, again, maybe say week 3 to now?
So week 3, I felt like they were trying too much stuff that they don't run. They were trying all this power and counter, and just pulling guards is something they don't do that often. And that becomes very difficult when you haven't run that all year to face an NFL defense like Brian Flores, who's going to disguise stuff, play funky fronts, play stuff that's just going to make you miss your assignment. There's so many moving parts to that defense. It makes it difficult. The Steelers, on the other hand, they kind of play more of a static defense. They're not really moving guys around. They want to line up and beat you one-on-one fair and square, I guess. It made the assignments a little bit easier. And when you understand your assignments, because one, the play calling became, in my opinion, a little bit simpler. The run and duo, inside zone, wide zone, just really, they run a couple other things. They ran a pin pull play, a draw play, but they were majoring in those 3 plays, and they threw a couple of change-ups in there. And they know those plays. The offensive line knows those plays. When you know your play, you can play fast because you know your assignment. And you know your assignment, that means you're going to be able to not have to think as much as you're playing throughout the game.
In your article, which again, you can find on BengalsTalk.com, you referred to the Steelers game as like the high watermark for the Bengals run blocking unit. Is there a particular play from that game that is sort of like the aha moment, or like the prime example of like, this is the new look Bengals run game?
Honestly, I think that first play we had, it just made me believe that Zac Taylor is thinking a lot more about the run game. Where I've always kind of thought Taylor kind of treats the run game a little bit secondary to the pass. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to hear that he's a little more focused on the passing game. So running a wrinkle off of a run concept that he's put in there and run time after time and head into a wall situation of just brick wall. They're not getting anything out of this. And to put the wrinkle in to run away from that motion makes me think that he's thinking about how to counter off of his runs with other runs, and not just how can I, counter off of this with a passing play and open things up for my weapons on the outside. I think he's thinking about how defenses are seeing his motions and his tells and tendencies, and how he can break those to open up his run game a little bit.
And presumably Zac Taylor's reading your article and watching our videos. You can say it. It's okay. Don't be bashful about it. Jeez.
I'm not to help the Bengals, I'm the free self-scout that you see.
If you're Zac Taylor, based on this breakdown so far, what's something you would do to surprise your next opponent? Like we know the next opponent is the Jets, but let's not even get that specific. Just any next opponent. Knowing what you know up to this point, what would you do to throw your opponent off now that they've surprised everyone and not run towards the motion.
One thing that would be interesting is because Joe Flacco has done such a good job under center, he can kind of run these package plays that a lot of people run anymore because it's like the original RPO. You call a run and you just throw the ball off of it. Getting into those heavy sets and continuing to try to run those package plays is interesting to me. But to run a wrinkle off of everything they've been doing, I showed the play action off of that. I would add that motion in, that tight end motion again. And you could honestly RPO off of there where there's a real famous one right now. It's getting a little bit old. It's from the Dolphins, so it's not this year that they're really hammering it. But you run kind of a glance post from the outside receiver, a wheel from the tight end. I think that would be your motion tight end, and then a flat route from the other tight end. And it puts the defense in a bind with these three receivers kind of all occupying a similar space. And if Joe Flacco can read that out and throw it, I think that's something you could toss in there just to, if you really are worried about this tendency of moving the tight end over. You could even hand that off. That's why the run part is in there. It's not pass option. It's run pass option. So if it looks good, just hand it off. But I think that would be something interesting that they could run off of what they're currently doing with that tight end motion. So they have three concepts off of it. You can run away from it, towards it again, or you can have a play where you could throw the ball on a run play in this situation and try to really keep the defense honest back there.
Okay. Two things. One, we just praised them for keeping things simple. Are you
Yeah.
making it too complicated all of a
Yes,
sudden?
I
Okay.
think so.
Now that we've established that, I would also, speaking of simple, for my sake, I'm sure viewers and they got this, but for my sake, I need you to draw a picture of that play, hand drawn, and send it to me, please. Like really, like I might just use it for B-roll. I don't know. Hand drawn, please, if you could, I appreciate it. Mike, we've effectively revitalized the Bengals run game. We can say it once again. I'm not ashamed to say it. I've asked the questions and you've provided answers. I can only hope that this will continue, be sustainable. And by this, I mean the Bengals run game. And I suppose you and I going over film reviews too. So it all works. But listen, I appreciate you coming on and talking through this and helping me understand this game better. I'm going to go watch my fictional television shows while you keep grinding on tape, and you can just keep me up to speed on all this, and we'll continue to do this off and on throughout the season, I am sure. Also, once again, BengalsTalk.com. Check out Mike's article. It provides way more clips than we just covered in this video. I think I counted, it's like 1,500 words, but if that scares you, there's a lot of visual aid, and I highly suggest that you go do it because I enjoyed reading it. So, Mike, once again, thank you, and until next time.